Hey there, and welcome to your mindful movements practice. No props are needed for this one, but if you do like to use blocks, feel free to grab 2 blocks. And so we're going to get started in a seated position. Just an easy seat here. I have my legs crossed, but if that's not available to you, just finding any version of a seat where you can start to feel rooted down through the sit bones. You can find a position here where you can sit up nice and tall. And so maybe you start to just close down the eyes a moment. Let's start to bring in some awareness between the space between the ears and the tops of the shoulders. So as you start to settle in, just notice that space, being aware if you're feeling like you're scrunched up in the shoulders or if you're sort of rounded forward. See if you can bring the shoulders back, sitting up nice and tall. And start to notice your breath, noticing how you're breathing right now in this moment. Is the breath shallow, rigid, smooth? And just finding there how you're breathing, but without any title or judgment attached to that, just simply turning inwards, tuning into the body, and noticing how you're breathing. More importantly, give yourself permission to be here, fully present, to notice how you're breathing. Giving yourself the permission to be here in the practice. And so let's try to refine the breath just a little bit. So if you haven't done so already, start to seal the lips. So on an inhale through the nose and exhale through the nose. And as you continue to breathe, inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the nose, see if you can make the exhales just slightly longer than the inhales. Maybe noticing how the mind starts to just tune into the body, less chatter going on in the mind. So feel free to float the eyelids back open, continuing with that slow, steady breath here, inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the nose. And so we'll use that breath work throughout this practice, just keeping a slow, steady, rhythmic breath here. So whenever you're ready, on an inhale, let's start to raise the arms up towards the sky. And then exhale, just slowly allowing the arms to come back down by your sides. So we're going to take our time with this. Using an inhale, reach up. Pause at the top of the inhale. Start to exhale, lower the arms down by your sides. Full exhalation here. Taking your time. Beautiful. Inhale, reach up. And then exhale, bring the right hand to the mat, side bend to the right. And this can be as deep as you would like here, but just keeping the left sit bone down towards the mat. Just feeling a stretch along the left side of the body. Let's take an inhale, reach up through both arms. Get nice and tall through the spine. Exhale the left hand to your mat. Side bend to the left. Reaching through the right fingertips, keeping the right sit bones down towards the mat there. Let's inhale, reach up through both arms. And then exhale, just release the hands down by your sides. Take a moment there. Inhale, reach the arms out to a T. Exhale, start to wrap the arms for eagle arms. So just finding what's available to you here. for the eagle arms position. So finding what wrap works best for you where you can feel a stretch. So maybe you might be feeling a stretch along the tops of the shoulders, the back of the shoulder blade area, maybe throughout the tops of the arms. And just seeing what sensations you can find there. Start to take an inhale here, and then on an exhale, start to slowly unravel the arms, reaching the arms back out to a T, and just slowly lowering the arms back down by your sides. So we'll do that one more time, wrapping the opposite way. Inhale, reach out to a T, and then exhale, start to wrap the arms the opposite way. And just again, finding what's available there. So if you need to come out of your wrap and open the arms, opening the chest again, finding your wrap, totally fine. And so if you feel specifically tight in the shoulders and you're feeling a good amount of sensation there, maybe you just close down the eyes for a moment and meditate on that sensation that you're feeling. We'll be here just for a few more breaths. Taking an inhale here, and then on an exhale, just slowly start to unravel the arms, open the arms back out to a T, and then lowering the arms down by your sides. We're going to make our way into a tabletop position. So wrists under shoulders and knees under hips. So coming to all fours, neutral tabletop here. We're going to take a few cat-cows. So on an inhale, start to lower the belly, lift the chin. And then on an exhale, start to round the spine, bring your chin towards the chest. Inhale, lower the belly, lift the chin. See if you can sort of spread the collarbones. And then exhale, round the spine, chin to chest. Inhale, come back to a neutral tabletop there. Plant down through that left hand. Inhale, reach up through the right arm. And then exhale, thread that right arm underneath the left arm. We're not going to come all the way down to thread the needle, but just briefly pausing there so you're reaching towards the left side there. Let's take an inhale, reach up. We're going to make this a very fluid movement here. So inhaling to reach up. Exhale, start to thread that right arm underneath the left. Inhale, reach up. And you can do this with the toes tucked as well. Exhale, thread the arm underneath the left. Inhale, reach up to the right arm. And exhale, thread it under. Inhale, reach up. This time stay there for a moment. If you have the toes tucked, untuck the toes. Start to look towards the front of your mat. Step that right foot forward here. So my right arm is extended up. My left hand is planted down towards the mat there. And I'm starting to straighten my left leg a little bit. So more of a low lunge here. Let's take an inhale here, reaching up through that right arm. And then exhale, start to straighten that front leg. Reach that right hand back towards the left knee. So we're finding a half split here, and we're reaching back with that right arm. So inhale, start to come forward into your lunge, reaching up. And then exhale, start to straighten that front leg to whatever degree is comfortable. And I'm reaching back towards my left knee with my right hand. Let's keep this movement going here. Inhale, reach up, leaning into the right hip. And then exhale, start to find that half split, reaching back. Inhale, reach up, and exhale. Straighten that leg. This time, inhale, reach up, coming back to your low lunge there. And just pausing there for a moment. Maybe you wrap that right arm behind your back for a bind. And sometimes it can feel nice just to look down at the left hand. So noticing how the left hand is feeling nice and rooted down to the mat. The right foot, notice the contact and that's made there at your mat. And maybe you start to make a little bit of a pulse sensation or movement there in the hips. So if you have the bind behind your back there, take an inhale to reach that right arm back up, and then exhale, bring that right hand down to the mat. Step the right foot out by your side. So my right leg is extended out by my side long here. Both hands are planted down. We're going to take a few cat-cows here in this position. So on an inhale, start to lower the belly, lift the chin, and then exhale, round the spine, chin to chest. Inhale, lower the belly, lift the chin, and exhale, chin to chest, the spine starts to round. Beautiful. Let's come back to neutral tabletop there. Sweep that right knee back in. So coming back to all fours, extend the right leg back down the mat. So just having the toes engaged there. I'm sort of spreading the toes and reaching back to the toes so I can feel a stretch in my calf. You also might be feeling a stretch in the right hip flexor. Start to lean forward, and on an inhale, bring that right knee to the right elbow. Swing the right knee behind the left knee. And then start to extend the arms out in front of you, and we're going to sink back into the heels. So you might be finding some acupressure points, maybe along the legs as you're folded back. So if you need to come out of this pose at all and readjust, feel free to. Feeling a nice stretch along the arms as you're stretching the arms long towards your mat. And just sinking back to your comfortable range of motion. Let's take an inhale to come back up onto all fours. So back to a tabletop position there. We'll take a few more cat-cows again. Inhale, lower the belly, lift the chin. Exhale, round the spine, chin to chest. Inhale, lower the belly, lift the chin. Spread the collarbones. And then on an exhale, start to round the spine, bringing your chin to chest. Come back to neutral tabletop there. Plant down through that right hand. Inhale, reach up to the left arm. And then exhale, thread that left hand underneath left arm underneath the right arm, finding that thread the needle variation there. We're going to inhale, reach back up to the left arm, and then exhale, thread it. So we're going to make this fluid movement on this side. So inhale to reach up, and exhale to thread underneath that right arm. Feel free to tuck the toes here as well while you're doing this. So reaching up to the left arm, and exhale, threading it. So you can make this as slow or as fast. And just moving with your breath there, using a full inhale, full exhale. This time, inhale, reach up towards the sky. Untuck the toes if the toes were tucked. Start to look towards the top of the mat. Step that left foot forward. And now from here, start to straighten that right leg down the mat. Lean into that left hip. So we're in more of a low lunge here now on this side. And so just reaching up through that left arm. We're going to start to make some more movement here on this side. So inhale, reach up through the left arm. And then exhale, start to straighten that left leg, reaching back towards the right knee there. Inhale, reach up, come back to that low lunge. And then exhale, start to straighten that front leg, reaching back towards the right knee. Inhale, rebend that left knee, reaching up. And exhale, start to straighten that front leg, finding your half split. So continue to do this with your own pace, your own breath and flow here. Just bringing in some mobility, waking up the joints. And taking our time with this movement, having some slow, steady movements, mindful movements. We'll do this a few more times here. Inhale to reach up. Exhale to find your half split, reaching back. This time as you inhale, just reach up towards the sky, coming back to your lunge there. Taking a moment, maybe you start to pulse into that left hip. And then on your next exhale, just setting that left hand down towards the mat there. Sweep in that right knee. Start to extend the left leg out to the side. So both of my hands are planted there. My left leg is extended out to the side. Let's start to take a few cat-cows here. So on an inhale, lower the belly, lift the chin. And then exhale, start to round the spine, chin to chest. Inhale, lower the belly, lift the chin. Exhale, round the spine, chin to chest. One more time. Inhale, lower the belly, lift the chin. And then exhale, chin to chest, spine starts to round. And then just come back to neutral tabletop there. Sweep that left knee in. Neutral tabletop on hands and knees. Extend the left leg back down the mat, just having the toes engaged again. So reaching through the toes, see if you can spread the toes. And just tuning back into the body and seeing where you're feeling a stretch. Calves area, maybe in the left hip. Start to shift forward, and then on an inhale, bring that left knee to the left elbow. Sweep the left knee behind the right. You can start to extend the arms long in front of you as you sink back into the heels. And again, just finding whatever works for you here. So maybe you don't sink back as far, or maybe your arms are not extended as long. Maybe you just place the forearms down on the mat. Totally fine. Just finding here what works for your body today. And then whenever you're ready, on an inhale, just coming back up to a neutral tabletop there. Going back to hands and knees, wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. Let's take an inhale to tuck the toes, and then exhale to a downward dog. So coming to a downward dog, feel free to pedal out the feet, alternating the weight into the heels. Maybe you just take this super slow bend one knee, and then bend the other knee. My fingers are spread pretty wide here to help with stability and balance. And then coming back to some stillness in your downward dog, let's take an inhale, rise on the toes. Exhale to bend the knees. Step forward to find an easy forward fold. So if you do have those blocks and you like to come to a modified forward fold with hands on the blocks, feel free to do that at any time here. Anytime throughout the practice that you need to use the blocks, feel free to. Let's take an inhale to a halfway lift. So you can imagine just placing the hands anywhere along the legs here where you can feel some length in the spine. So my gaze is down towards the mat, sort of imagining the spine lengthening from the tailbone all the way to the crown of the head. Take an inhale here, and then exhale, bend the knees, forward fold. Let's inhale, rise all the way up, extend and mountain, get nice and tall. And then exhale, forward fold, bend the knees. Let's plant the hands, step back to a plank position. Feel free to take a modified plank with the knees on the mat there, or just taking an exhale, lowering down to the mat. Take your time here. Inhale to find a baby cobra. So just lifting the head and the chest. Little back bend here. And on an exhale, lowering down to the mat. Inhale, push through the hands. Coming briefly to tabletop, and then you'll exhale to a downward facing dog. So again, feel free to set up your foundation in your downward dog. Maybe pedal out the feet again. And so while we're in a downward dog here, we're in an axial extension. So we want to have the spine nice and extended long here, pushing the mat away with the hands, creating some space there in the spine. Let's take an inhale, rise up on the toes. Exhale to bend the knees, step forward to find a forward fold. So forward fold here. Again, feel free to place a generous bend in the knees there. Let's inhale to a halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise all the way up, extend and mountain. And then exhale to a chair pose. Just sinking the hips down, bending the knees to your comfortable range of motion. Maybe you bring hands to heart center here. Taking a moment to feel grounded down through the feet. Start to inhale, straighten the legs, reaching for the sky. And then exhale, forward fold. Let's plant the hands, step back to your plank. Again, feel free to take a modified plank here with the knees on the mat. And then taking an exhale, start to lower down to the mat. Inhale, find a back bend, your cobra pose here. So maybe you come up a little bit higher. Keep a bend in the elbows close to the ribs. And then on an exhale, just lowering all the way down. Let's take an inhale to come to tabletop briefly. Exhaling to downward facing dog. So staying in our downward dog just for a few breaths. So feel free to explore here what might feel good in your downward dog. So maybe it is just finding some stillness. Or maybe you want to release some tension in the hips by swaying side to side in the hips. And just exploring here the movements in your body. Coming back to some stillness in your downward dog. Let's take an inhale, rise on the toes, and then exhale, start to lower the heels down towards the mat. So the heels might not touch, it's totally fine, but just feeling a stretch in the calves, maybe the Achilles tendon there. Do that one more time. So inhale, rise on the toes. Exhale, sink the heels down towards the mat. Let's inhale, rise on the toes. Exhale, bend the knees. Step forward to your forward fold. Easy forward fold here. Let's inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, fold. Inhale, rise all the way up. Extend and mountain, get nice and tall. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, reach up, pick up the right knee. So the knee is about 90 degrees here. Step that right foot back, finding warrior one. Come back to slow, steady breath here in your warrior one. Start to notice the feet making contact with the mat and feeling nice and rooted down. You can inhale, reach up, get nice and tall through the spine. Exhale, hands to heart center. Start to put a little micro bend in that back knee. Step forward, lift up the right knee there. It's okay to feel a little bit wobbly. And then whenever you're ready, start to wrap the right leg around the left leg, finding an eagle pose here. So maybe you just start to sink down a little bit into the hips, bending that left knee, and just finding here what's available. So I'm going to turn towards you here. So hands to heart center, picking up that right knee, and then just finding a wrap. And maybe you bend the left knee a little bit, sinking down, just meditating on any sensation here that you're feeling with the legs wrapped, turning inwards. And if you're working on your balance here, maybe closing down the eyes, testing your balance, Seeing if you can keep that slow, steady breath. So try not to force anything in the body there. On an inhale, start to straighten that left leg, unwrap the right leg, lower that right foot, take an inhale, reach up, and then exhale, just start to forward fold there. So I'm gonna meet you back at the top of my mat. So just taking a forward fold. Let's inhale, halfway lift, and exhale, fold. Inhale, plant the hands, step back to your plank or modified plank. And then on an exhale, start to lower down towards the mat. Inhale to find a cobra. So keeping a baby cobra with just the head and the chest lifted, or coming up to a cobra, creating a little bit more of a back bend there. And just listening to your body and just making sure you're not going too deep in your back bend or forcing anything in the body. And then on an exhale, just lowering all the way down. Inhale, push to the hands, coming to tabletop briefly. And then exhale, downward dog. Pausing here in our down dog. Take an inhale to rise on the toes. Exhale, bend the knees. Step forward, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, fold. Inhale, rise all the way up, extended mountain. Exhale, bring your hands to heart center. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, hands to heart center. This time, let's inhale, reach up, pick up that left knee. So my knee's about 90 degrees, my left knee is. Start to step that left foot back, finding a warrior one on this side. You can bring hands to heart center here and just start to notice your foundation for your warrior one on this side. Starting to root back down through the feet. Hip points are pointed towards the front of the mat there. Feel free to bend that right knee as much as you need to as well. The back foot is planted. Start to put a little micro bend in that back knee. We're going to step forward. Inhale, pick up the left knee again. And then just start to wrap the left leg around the right leg. Maybe you start to bring hands to heart center. So I'm going to turn towards you again. So bringing hands to heart center, start to wrap that left leg around the right, and maybe start to bend that right knee a little bit. It's okay to be a little wobbly and shaky. If you fall out of this pose, just come back into it, no worries. Some days will be harder than the other, and just knowing that that's okay. Our bodies are always changing, so one day you might feel a little bit more stable and balanced. The other day, you might feel a little off. And that's what's beautiful about yoga, is just keeping the non-judgmental sort of attitude with it, no titles, just being okay with what's going on right here, right now. Starting to straighten that the right leg, unravel the legs, inhale, reach that left knee up, and then exhale, just forward fold here, an easy forward fold. So I'm going to meet you back at the top of my mat again, but we're just in an easy forward fold, so feel free to bend the knees as much as you need to here, especially if the hamstrings are still pretty tight. Let's inhale to a halfway lift. And exhale, fold. Let's plant the hands, step back to our plank position. And then on an exhale, lowering down to the mat. Let's take an inhale to find a cobra pose. Back bend here. We'll stay here for a few breaths and feel free to play with the leg placement. So I like to have my feet wider than my hips and just allowing my legs to be nice and long down the mat there. Taking an inhale. And then on an exhale, just start to lower on down. Inhale, push through the hands, come to tabletop briefly. Exhale to find a child's pose. So finding a nice child's pose here. Maybe you keep the feet together and the knees together, and you just sort of round the spine. Maybe the arms are wrapped down by your sides. Maybe the feet together, the knees are wide, and the arms are stretched in front of you. The chest sinks down, and maybe you have the forehead just rested on the mat there. So just finding whatever child's pose works best in your body. And just start to notice the breath in your child's pose. As you inhale, noticing the ribs expand. And on the exhales, the body softens. See if you can just stay with the breath there, noticing the breath and feeling the breath in your body, even if it's just for 20 seconds, 30 seconds. See if you can give yourself that time to turn back inwards. And then whenever you're ready, just slowly start to come back up into a tabletop position. Taking your time here. So we're just going to briefly come to a tabletop, make our way to an easy seat. So making our way to an easy seat, start to bring the soles of the feet together. So bringing the soles of the feet together, having a butterfly shape with the knees, or maybe you have the feet a little farther away from you and the feet are more diamond shaped there. So I'm going to have my feet pretty close towards my sit bones. Start to sit up nice and tall. And so feel free to stay here if you're feeling enough sensation through the groin, the inner thighs, or start to walk the hands away from the body, starting to round the spine. Maybe you just lower the chin towards your chest. Feel free to close down the eyes. Coming back to the breath and how the breath feels. Taking deep breaths, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. We'll stay here for a few more breaths. Allowing this to be soothing, nourishing for the body. Using your exhale, seeing if you can just allow the body to soften a little bit more. And then whenever you're ready, just slowly coming out of this, walking the hands back towards your body if the spine is rounded, coming back to an upright position there. Take a moment to place the hands behind you. Step the feet out wide. And we're just going to windshield wiper the knees side to side. So it doesn't matter which side you start on. It doesn't have to be connected to the breath here, but just windshield wipering the knees side to side. I'm just taking my time with this. Maybe you start to notice the textures in the body, maybe in the hips and the legs as you're moving slowly here, and just focusing on that movement, focusing on what you're feeling. Do this a few more times, side to side. Don't worry about if the knees don't touch the mat. Mine certainly do not. And so we're going to just come back to some stillness here. Come back to an easy seat. So coming back to an easy seat to close out the practice, feel free to bring hands to heart center. So I hope this practice was what you needed today. Remember to take time for you. Remember that you matter. You are important. Take a deep breath in. Long exhale out. Deep breath in. Exhale, bow your head. Namaste.